Another one.
Does being a manual QA tester get you left behind? So, for starters, I started off as a software tester that's data centered. Shout out to my data people, Mitch, McColl's Wellness in Motion, and everybody else who, I mean, I would say your car, but your car is in every industry. So whenever I start naming names, just automatically assume your car's at the beginning, right? So it says, started off as a software tester that's data centered. 3 years in, and it felt very stagnant and was craving for growth. So I applied to become a software functional tester in the same company. And in the span of 1 year, I've learned a lot. Back in college, I was coding and it wasn't really tight knit. As much as possible, I steer clear from it. Okay, so they didn't like coding, they steer clear from coding. Okay. I took a general IT bachelor's, so basically I had a course of each branch of IT, and programming was my least favorite of them all. That sucks. Anyhow, back to the present, it feels that everything is just progressing way too fast. The company decided to adapt automation. Oh, nice. So that prompted us to train in Playwright TypeScript. That didn't really stick with it, since only a couple of QAs were selected to focus on it, and I got some other projects that were assigned to me, which is more on the manual testing side of things. Aww. 6 to 7 months in from the transition, I was tasked to be part of the maintenance initiative. I still feel very raw and thought I'm not ready for this train, but I didn't really have much of a choice. When I got in this initiative, everything was new to me. It became more technical, more complex applications to cover, and it was not repetitive at all. Well, you're looking for something repetitive? Sorry. Given that we're catering some very old bugs straight out of an ancient history chest that's now they want it to be fixed. In this initiative, I was forced to adapt and learn more automation skills, but this time more on the API testing. So we were taught how to automate using C#. You should have tuned in the past month on our API series. If I were to pick between Playwright TypeScript focusing on UI and C#.NET automation with API, I much prefer C#. Nice. I like that. Anyways, the point of this very, very long post is I don't think I see myself dancing with automation in the long run, as it stresses me out. Add the fact AI burnout, but at the same time, I love being a QA. Aww. It's a love-hate relationship. Okay, I must say. All right, well, you don't love it if there's hate in there as well. On the bright side, I was semi-grateful that our company gave me this opportunity to learn and a room for growth, but now I just think it's too much growth for me to handle at the moment, and they aren't slowing down. If you could slap me with reality in our industry, helps a ton. Well, if you want to get slapped, well, let's go over to Dana White's. What's the name of his thing? His slap. What's the name of Dana White's slap thing? Dana White slap. Move this out the way. What's the name of that slap competition? Don't give me. I hope they don't give me the other. Let me see. I knew that. Power slap. Is that it? Power slap. Power slap. Yeah. So it's called power slap. So if you want some power slapping from yours truly, then by all means, I will certainly give that to you. Let's put our timer up, right? So, yeah, Ferris, you ever heard of power slap? Dana White started a new, I guess, a league or something where people just slap each other to see who can knock each other out by a slap. Anyways, here's the thing. Your primary question is, does manual QA get you left behind? The answer is absolutely. It gets you left behind. Sorry, not sorry, but everything in this world is about, expanding, innovation, evolving. And if you want to just stay, if you want to just stay in the same spot that you've always been, then then you can well, there's not going to be any room for you because as companies are trying to get more efficient, they're going to see, okay, what is working, what is going to reduce costs, and if you're not willing to pick up, then they're going to have no use for you. So instead of whining and moaning about, oh, who says this? Who says this? It feels that everything is just progressing too fast. No, you need to pick up the pace. Like, why would a company want to pay you to do something manually that you can make mistakes? Every time you do something manually, there goes the potential for mistakes to be made. So companies don't like risks. Risk management, risk assessment. Companies don't like risks. So if you can learn how to program something that's going to go through the same repetitive process every single time, so you as a human doesn't have to do it, and you can focus on something else that's more valuable, why would you be fighting that? Oh, I know why you'd be fighting that. Because it's work. You want to be treated as the playwright script, as the automation script. And we don't do that. So I've been writing automation tests for the past 12 years. Different softwares, different languages. You see me on the live streams doing API automation, doing UI automation, doing it in Playwright, doing it in Cypress, doing it in Selenium. You see me doing API automation with Karate, with Rest Assured, with the request library, with whichever one super test that Node uses. Haven't went into C# yet, but I'm pretty sure I could figure that out pretty easily. But when you try to fight the system always wins, right? How do they say in gambling? The house never loses. So instead of like expanding your career and growing, you want to fight it. And now, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? It's been 6 to 7 months and you're still, struggling along. Instead of like, oh, I feel very raw and I'm not ready for this train. No, you need to wake up early. Like I said, what was my number one strategy? From yesterday's video? It was the sacrifice. What does sacrifice means? You might have to wake up 2 or 3 hours early. You might have to go to sleep 2 or 3 hours later. You might have to do both. So that you can ramp up and you can be knowledgeable on what you're working on. So that you don't have to feel raw. And you don't have to say, oh, I don't have much of a choice. Because guess what? Now, when you're going to try to switch positions and you're trying to look for a manual testing role, when I first started the channel, I was on a mission. I said, you know what? All these, programs are saying, oh, learn manual testing, pay us $10,000 to learn manual testing, and you'll get a job making $100,000 as a manual tester. And I said, all right, cool. Well, let's go look for these manual testing jobs. And every single stream, we would go look for this mystery manual testing job. And guess what we found? We found nothing. We found nothing. There were no manual testing jobs available. Not in this country, at least. So that's why when I'm coaching, I always recommend. I'm like, look, you have the knowledge of how to test and stuff like that, but now let's put it into practical use, practical implementation, and we're going to start learning automation. And we're going to be learning automation based on the need of the project we're doing. So right now we're heavily focused on APIs. So I'm like, all right, start writing API tests. As we get more into UI development, then all right, cool, write some UI tests, but the core functionality, the business logic, has to be tested at least an API level, because that's where the business logic is. The UI can change a million times, and honestly, Playwright is not that hard to use. I've used Playwright like a multitude of times. I've used it in Python. I've used it in JavaScript. With Node. It's not that hard. Like the problem is you don't want to learn coding, but code is the future. Or you can be one of the people who's going to make a post in about 6 months saying, "Is AI going to take my manual testing job?" In that voice exactly. Your voice is going to start cracking, and you're going to have a tear in your eye, and then we're going to have to play this for you. Tune in next week for the story of how AI took this manual QA tester's job.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.